I don't know if you guys can see, but these are pink. God damn, they hurt. These are from my niece. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in on To The Point with the King. You guys can find us Apple, Amazon, Spotify. If you don't want to see our pretty faces, but Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you do want to see our pretty faces, I hope you guys are watching us right now on YouTube. Hook a brother up, click subscribe, maybe click a like. I don't know, do a little something, and enjoy our fantastic guests, and go support them, especially my man right there, all the way from the East Coast, the coach, Tim Roach. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Getting excited for basketball. Now the schedule's out, and it's almost Raptors basketball time. Let's do it.
Yeah, man, this is the epilogue. We just completed a trilogy. Now we're okay. Okay. So, coach, we did speak on our last episode, which is the main reason and the main component why you are here and why we want to get into this, because we didn't have enough time to speak about the Raptors lineup. Now, who would you see as the Raptors starting five? You might have mentioned this before, but can you please get us through it?
Well, my starting five, with Fred gone, that opens up a spot for someone else. I think with the four would be Scotty, OG, Siakam, and Pearl, which leaves a spot for somebody else. For me, that final spot is for Gary Trent Jr. We've seen Gary score. He went for a stretch there a couple of years ago in January where he had like 7 games of 30 plus points.
When he's hot,
Gary,
he's hot. When he's not, he's not.
yeah. Gary as a starter, the numbers are pretty good. Gary off the bench, like we all know he can score, but there's just something. But when he starts, he fits well into the starting units. I think with Gary too, he plays very well with Siakam. There were times last year where Siakam would be on the court. He wasn't on the court with many shooters, but when he was on with Gary was able to knock down those 3-point shots that are so crucial for this team moving forward. And I think with Pirtle out there as well, that's another player who cannot stretch the floor. So a guy like Gary and a guy like OG out there with Pascal and Scotty, they're crucial for this team moving forward. You gotta need some floor spacers, and Gary and OG can provide that for this team. And I would have Scotty at my point. In this day and age with positionless basketball, I think he could do that. I think it's going to take time. Don't get me wrong, but this is the year to try it. If just to know what you got with Scotty at point. Also, Gary, OG, Siakam, and Pirtle. To me, if I'm Darko, those are my starting five moving forward. Unless I'm absolutely wowed by somebody else in training camp.
You know what? Training camp has been crazy, but I agree with you. I agree with you pretty much on like 100% on that starting five. I will put Yak at the center. I would have OG out there. I would have Gary Trent. I would have Scotty Barnes, right? You got to have that number 4 out there, right? You got to have that kid out there because he's eventually going to come the future of the Toronto Raptors, whether we like it or not, or you want to face it or not, ladies and gentlemen. But, and also Spicy P. Now, bring up something spicy, P. And to bring up something spicy, I don't know, Germany doesn't have a lot of spice out there. They're kind of bland. I talked to my friends out there. But do you think there's a possibility that Dennis Schroeder can be part of that starting lineup?
There is a possibility, certainly.
Maybe
Dennis
in certain
Schroeder,
games?
Uh, I don't know with so much certain games, but I think the only way I see Dennis starts is if one of Scotty or Gary are really struggling to start the year. And Scotty, this is going to be his first time kind of being de facto point guard. It's not going to be this big, easy transition for him. Like he's got a lot of work to do in terms of ball handling and stuff like that. But I think with his talent and the already skills that he does have, like the vision, the size, um, you know, I think this is something that he can grow into, but it's going to be about wins as well, I'm sure, for Darko. If he sees that Schroeder works better in the pick and roll, if he sees that Schroeder, that some of the shooting, he's probably going to be a better shooter than Scotty this year. I'm just taking a guess. If they're looking for a bit more just experience at that position, then they might move Scotty back to the three and Gary would go to the bench. That's my guess. I don't see that happening, but it's not going to shock me if it does happen.
You know what? Here's something a lot of people out there will not agree with me on, but I do like Trent coming off the bench. I think that's very beneficial. Him coming off with Boucher, oh my goodness, right? I think they can carry a load, right? And especially since they got some dick with them coming there, but we'll allude to that, ladies and gentlemen. No puns intended. Actually, puns
None.
intended. But Coach, the way I see it is, you know what? Schroeder will have his opportunities to start, and like maybe like if they have to go to a smaller lineup, right, where you can have the Schroeder, you can have Scotty, you can have Trent, you can have Pascal, and then you can kick ass with Yock, and then have OG Boucher come off the bench, which would be absolutely phenomenal, right? Which I think, because I okay, here's something between me and you guys out there too. I think the Raptors have a lot of depth when it comes to them, right? I think a lot of these players have not been, I don't know if you guys play video games, which I don't, but that player's not unlocked, right? There's so much more potential for a lot of these guys. And Coach, I want to go through this with you. There's a laundry list that I got right in front of me, that I want to go through with you, and I want to ask you a question, and you give me an answer. Starting bench 905. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Jakob Pertl, starting with the center.
Starting.
Okay. Precious Achua.
Bench.
Okay. Koloko.
Bench.
Okay, so we covered our centers. Let's go through some of the forwards. Obviously Pascal Siakam, I already know your answer. I think we all know the answer. OG Anunoby.
He will start.
Chris Boucher.
He will be on the bench.
Let's get some dick. How about that?
He will be on the bench. I know I've heard the question asked, could he see some time in the G League? Look, if he struggles a little bit to start the year, he's a rookie. He could. It's not going to shock me if he's back and forth a little bit between the bench and the G League, but exactly. I do think he's going to be in the rotation. He's going to be on the bench for most of the year, and I think he should be, because I think he has a skill set that's complementary to Pascal and Scotty moving forward. So hopefully they give him some time.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Why can't we debate? Why do us former coaches have to? Okay, anyway. Then there's the infamous, always broken, Mr. Unbreakable, Sean DeGlass, Otto Porter Jr.
Otto will be on the bench. I think he'll be in the rotation. I can see him getting 12 to 15 minutes a night.
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy. Last time he was healthy, the guy was shooting 40% from three in Golden State.
Oh yeah.
Um, he helped them win a championship. To me, he is like my seventh or eighth man on this team off the bench,
Oh,
if healthy. I think what the his experience, his ability to shoot, that playing in that Golden State system, which he did for a year,
and the
if he's
size
healthy,
too.
exactly switchable defender. He's actually the numbers. I don't have them in front of me. Last time I looked at them in Golden State, they were really good on defense. So um, if it was me, he's probably my seventh or eighth man without question.
That's good. I would probably put him at 10, to be quite honest,
Yep.
just because
I,
I have not seen much results.
I
Don't tell
understand
me,
that for sure.
don't tell me, show me,
Yep.
right? Thaddeus Young as another forward.
14th man.
Yeah,
Yep. Out of 15, he'll be 14, and that's fine. That's okay. Be the veteran, be like that player coach in a sense, right? Like he's a
yeah,
guy he could be in the coach. He could be in some of the coaching staff meetings,
yeah.
and
He's a
be that
locker
presence
room
on the
guy,
bench. Exactly. Yep.
right? Okay, now let's get with the guards. Obviously, we know Scotty Barnes starting, right? Do I need to ask you that?
He should be starting, but yeah, no, you don't have to ask me that.
Gary Trent Jr. starting.
That's the question for me. It's a yes because of the lack of shooting in which we already have. But once again, if things change, and I know you'll bring this next guy up probably or down the road,
Yeah, I will.
I don't think it's set in stone that he's starting. I'll put it that way.
Okay, not down the road yet. We're still going.
We're still
Um,
going.
the this one's baffled me for the last couple years because I've seen so much potential with this one player. As at the guard, 72 points. You know, this little guy who's been living in the shadow of Fred VanVleet, Malachi Flynn. I want to see something from him. Where do you see him?
Well, with the signing of Garrett Temple, that helped
Oh, we'll
Malachi
get there.
Flynn because I say that because now Jeff Doughton's in jeopardy of making this team.
Oh, we'll get there too.
And look, Malachi Flynn's going to be, I think, in his last year of his contract. Just go for it. Whatever it is, we know that that Nurse had him on the bench, and when he was out there, it was hard for him to play. I always would watch the games, and he would be looking over his shoulder. And I understand that as a player too. It's tough when you make a mistake and then you feel like you're going to come off the floor. That's tough to play. That's going to hurt your confidence.
Yeah,
You know, because of Schroeder and Scotty, I don't see him getting much time, truthfully. But why not go for it? You know, in training camp, like go at these guys. If I'm him, what do you got to lose?
Yeah, I'd go all out if I was him. I'd go balls up.
Yeah,
Balls
yeah.
up.
No, yeah. You know, if look to last in the league at his size, he's like 5'11", 6 feet. You got to be 38 to 40% from three. You got to have that elite skill set, and those numbers are not there from this past year. You got to get some of those percentages up. If he can show that he can knock down the 3-point shot and be respectable on defense, you know, maybe he gets a little bit of time here and there, and that's good.
You know what? I just think he didn't get his tryout. Like he really wasn't given the opportunity to show what he can do on the floor if he's given that. But we'll get into that later. I got another question for you, which gets into that. But we got Jeff Doughton. Where is he going? Big league, bench, 905.
I see with the signing of Garrett Temple, probably 905.
Okay. I agree with you on that one. Now, hold on. Ron Harper Jr. Where
905.
Yeah, right.
And
It's
he just needs there's just more development. Plus, there's so many players in front of him too. Give the kid a chance to play. He just needs minutes, needs development.
yeah. When you got Barnes, Trent, and Schroeder, um, we just covered Schroeder, um, and I wanted you to get a little bit further, like from our last video, Garrett Temple, right? On his acquisition, where do you see him fitting in with the Raptors organization?
Veteran leader like Thad. He'll be a good locker room guy. Hopefully helping guys to stay professional and what it takes to be a professional in the league. I'm sure at times he's going to feel like he might be babysitting some just because you get a lot of young players in the league and kids when they're 20 and stuff like that. Your your demeanor at 20 is different when your demeanor at 37 when you're Garrett Temple,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm sure he's going to be working with some of those younger players and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
trust me. I work with some young people, and they don't know.
hey,
Like, I
right.
I understand it. And who is this Liberty dude? I just saw this pop up out of nowhere. Who is this guy? What is he gonna provide? What is he gonna do?
I think well, he played summer league for Chicago. Actually, played really well for their summer league team. I He's a guy who could probably shoot near 40% from three. Decent athlete. Um, I see him in the G League, but it won't shock me if he ends up on the big team, like on the bench, if he's playing really well. It's not going to shock me.
Oh, okay. If he doesn't come up
Yep.
from the farm league, and then there's the I noticed when I was like I noticed over the last little while I see this guy O'Banner.
Yeah,
And
did they
and
sign
you
him
know
to
what?
something?
Hold on. You know what made me laugh was when the Raptors first drafted David Stoudemire, everybody wanted Ed O'Bannon.
Oh, yes, I
I was
remember
like,
that.
O'Banner? Really? Okay, we're doing a flashback. But can you explain where you think he's gonna go? Do you think that might be like a G League? Because that's where I see it, bro.
Yeah, I don't know if he's the guy that signed the Exhibit 10 deal or something like that.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, yeah, he'll be in the G League, and chance for him to get some minutes, develop. Look, he's going to be with some guys who will bounce back and forth between the big team and the G League, like maybe the Noels or the Doughtons and stuff like that of the world. So he'll
Harper's, the
probably
Flynn's. Yeah, yeah. And there's another guy I want to ask you about. Now, this guy, I have no idea who he is. I'm just saying that up front. Okay. All I know is to me, he sounds like cheese. And I can't pronounce his name.
I
Gruyere?
think it's Gee. I think it's Gee. Is it Mohamedou Gee? Mohamedou Gee? I think it's his name.
uh, Guyre. Guerre.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's pronounced. I think it's pronounced Gee. He was playing in some of the Rico Hines runs, and look, he to me he has the same kind of build and physique as like a Chris Boucher. He's going to be probably
oh,
in the G
wow.
League, um, but he played fairly well in the summer league team. He can stretch the D. He's long, kind of like Boucher. He's 6'9", so he fits their vision. That's for sure. But just another chance to kind of build that G League team because truthfully, the G League team hasn't been very good the last few years.
Boom. There we go, coach. This is where I was taking this. Based on every player that we have spoken about, a lot of the starting players came from the G League. A lot of the guys on the big league, on the big team that came from the farm team, they were wrecking shot in the 905, right? They were kicking ass. But over the last few years, we have not really seen that from the 905 with the available talent and the roster that they can use. We've seen players that have been sitting on the bench doing jack all, right? When they could have been in the 905, refining their skills and developing and getting a lot better. But now, where we see this with the current Toronto Raptors roster and the departure of Nick Nurse and the coaching staff, right? And we saw that report. I don't know if you saw it, but some of the Raptors players were happy with the fact that Nick Nurse was relieved of his duties. Did you see that?
I didn't read that specific one you might be referring to, but I heard things like after he was fired and stuff like that. So yeah.
So my question to you is, now that the Raptors trying to get the shit back together, because with that 2019 championship team, most of those players, they came from the 905. They came from the G League, and they helped to bring the Larry O'Brien trophy here in Toronto. Now, do you think that with the talent that the Raptors currently have, do you think there's a possibility that that they can develop the bench and develop the G League? This way they can be stronger and more fortified in a strong Eastern Conference to get to the finals again.
The Raptors 905 team is vital for the Toronto Raptors. And I say that because we're not a free agent destination. There's only a couple teams in the league really that are. It's the LA's and it's like Miami, New York once in a while, I guess.
Anywhere in Texas where you don't got to pay tax.
Yeah. So the developing the 905 is essential. We've lost a lot of our coaching staff from those years that they did really well leading up to the championship, but getting Jama back on the big club, who was there originally, is a big help. We did lose Patrick Mutombo a couple of years ago as well. I know he was vital to that as well. But developing the 905 for over the next few years will help them eventually have that depth that you need to be a contender, maybe one day get to a championship. Like when we were really good, Siakam was the MVP that year, I think, of the G League finals when they won. Chris Boucher, I think, was the G League MVP like a year later or 2 years later after they had him. We had Pearl that was back and forth his rookie year. Fred, when he was here, he was playing in the G League. Look, developing Noel there and Gee and Harper.
Dalton.
We don't know if Doughton. We don't Grady. It's not going to shock me if Grady's back and forth a little bit there. But having that pipeline for any basketball team, it's key, especially if you're not going to be a free agent destination. You got to have a developmental system. And something the Raptors did well from like 2014 to about 2019 was develop young players. Siakam, Fred, OG. Pearl, DeLon Wright, some of these guys that came through, some of them were traded, but that happens anyway. Over the next 2 to 3 years, that's going to have to happen again as well. It also will help too if you have picks who can do. We've traded a lot of picks away too. During those times back in the 6, 7, 8 years ago, we had more first round picks. Like we had a stretch of about 3 years where we drafted DeLon Wright, Pascal Siakam, Pirtle, Powell, and OG, and undrafted Fred VanVleet. We had 6 guys right there that we were able to draft. Most of those guys were in the first round. Norm was in the second round. Fred was undrafted. So going to have to try to build that up again with a new kind of generation of Raptor 905 players who you hope that eventually can get in the rotation. And if you strike lucky, maybe you get another Siakam, maybe you get another Fred, maybe you get another Pirtle. Who knows?
Well, Coach, I agree. Again, I agree with you 100% because that's where I wanted to lead that they need to have that development, because you can have so much water in your sink, but you can't have too much, and you got nothing in the well, right? You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Coach, this has been a great conversation. We're short on time right now. Thank you for coming back on. We had to hit this topic because
Absolutely.
we could have crushed it last time, but you guys wouldn't want to watch us for 2 hours. Okay. Unless you like to see this face, ladies, at King Hussein. Anyway, don't bother him. He's married. He's taken.
I'm married.
So, Coach, thank you for coming on. Is there anything you'd like to say before we get out of here? You got a couple seconds.
Yeah, once again, I like the topic you brought up about the importance of the 905 in our history of developing players. We have to develop those, kind of similarly again with a new generation of players. It brought us success before. Let's see if it can do it again.
Yes, I would like to see history repeat itself.
That's
Coach,
our way to our way of competing has to be through the 905 and just player development.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. Thank you very much, Coach. I know, no super teams. Forget that. And
Don't like them either.
None of these pink hair clips. Anyway, so on behalf of myself and the coach, all the way from the East Coast, Tim Roach, and everybody that's watching us, the To The Point family, if you are watching, I consider you family. So, as the king, I will say, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and peace.